Based on my research, I understand that for a voiceover script, I should use clear formatting that makes it easy to read aloud. I'll now create the story as requested, formatted appropriately for voiceover with proper pacing and natural breaks. I'm Sadie Wilson, 58, a retired high school counselor from Portland, Oregon. For years, it was just my daughter, Lily, and me against the world after my husband died when she was 7. We were inseparable, at least until she met her fiancé, Andrew, and his wealthy family. Nothing prepared me for the text I received last month. Don't come to my wedding. You're no longer my family. Before I share how this heartbreaking message changed everything, tell me where you're watching from today and hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt blindsided by someone you loved. James and I tried for 5 years to have a child. The countless fertility treatments, the disappointments, the tears shed in silence when another pregnancy test showed negative. We were about to give up when our miracle happened. I was pregnant with Lily. The day she was born, with her tiny fingers and crystal blue eyes, was the happiest of our lives. We created the perfect little family in our modest Portland home. James worked as an architect while I counseled high school students. Life was beautiful, ordinary, and ours. Then came the day that changed everything. James was just 39 when he clutched his chest at the dinner table and collapsed. A massive heart attack took him instantly. Lily was only 7. The funeral remains a blur in my memory, but I clearly remember Lily's small hand in mine, her confused eyes looking up at me, asking when Daddy was coming back. That night, I made her a promise through my tears. It's you and me now, sweetheart. We'll get through this together. The next few years were incredibly difficult. I picked up evening shifts at a local diner to supplement my counselor's income. Some nights, I'd come home exhausted to find Lily had already made herself a peanut butter sandwich for dinner and laid out her clothes for school the next day. My 7-year-old was growing up too fast, but we were surviving. We developed little traditions that kept us close. Sunday morning pancakes shaped like animals. Friday, movie nights with homemade popcorn. Summer camping trips in our second-hand tent where we'd tell ghost stories and fall asleep counting stars. Lily would often crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, and I'd tell her stories about her father until she fell asleep. Lily was a bright student, always bringing home perfect report cards. I still remember her 10th grade science fair project on water purification that won first place. I stayed up all night helping her finish it, both of us delirious with exhaustion and laughing at nothing by morning. Those moments, the small victories, the shared laughter, they defined our relationship. When Lily was accepted to NYU on a partial scholarship, I was bursting with pride. I'd been saving every extra penny in her college fund, but it wasn't quite enough. I sold my wedding ring to cover the remaining tuition. Lily never knew. I told her we had just enough saved. The day I put her on that plane to New York was one of the hardest of my life. My little girl was flying across the country to build her own life. We adapted to the distance with weekly FaceTime calls. Every Sunday at 7 p.m, my time, 10 p.m. hers, she'd show me her dorm room, her campus, her new friends. I noticed subtle changes, her Portland accent fading, her wardrobe becoming more sophisticated, her interests shifting, but she was still my Lily, calling me first when she aced an exam or needed advice about a roommate conflict. During her junior year, she mentioned a boy named Andrew. He's from Connecticut, Mum. His family owns some investment firm. I was happy she was dating. Andrew appeared in our FaceTime calls occasionally. Handsome, polite, clearly from money, but seemingly down to earth. When they visited during Christmas break, I liked him immediately. He helped with dishes without being asked and laughed genuinely at my corny jokes. As Lily's graduation approached, I saved for months to afford the trip to New York. I sat in the audience, bursting with pride as she walked across the stage. Later, when she told me she'd been offered a position at a marketing firm in Manhattan and would be staying in New York, I hid my disappointment behind a smile. I'm so proud of you, sweetie, I said, meaning every word, despite the ache in my heart. Lily thrived at her marketing job in Manhattan. Our FaceTime calls became less frequent. Sorry, Mum, crazy work schedule. But I understood. She was building her career, finding her place. The photos she shared showed a glamorous life, rooftop parties, Broadway shows, weekend trips to the Hamptons. Her relationship with Andrew grew serious. He had joined his family's investment firm after his MBA and was quickly rising through the ranks. About a year after graduation, Lily invited me to New York to meet Andrew's parents. "They're taking us to dinner at their country club," she said, sounding anxious. "Wear something nice, okay?" I spent a week's grocery money on a new dress that I hoped would be appropriate. The dinner was uncomfortable from the start. The Morgans, Richard and Vivian, lived in a world completely foreign to mine. They casually discussed their multiple homes, their recent trip to Monaco, their connections to people whose names I recognized from magazines. I tried to participate, mentioning my volunteer work at the local literacy center, but Vivian changed the subject before I could finish. "So, Sadie," Richard said at one point, swirling his expensive wine, "Lily tells us you work at a high school." His tone made my job sound like a curious hobby. "I'm a counselor," I corrected gently. "I help students navigate their academic paths and personal challenges." "How quaint," Vivian replied with a tight smile. "I suppose someone needs to do those sorts of jobs." I noticed Lily shrinking in her seat, not defending me. After dinner in our hotel room, she said, "Mom, please don't take offense. The Morgans just expressed themselves differently. They actually liked you." I nodded, but I'd seen the way they looked at me, like I was a curiosity, not a person they respected. Over the next 3 years, I watched Lily transform. Her visits home became rare, always with an excuse. Work deadlines, social obligations, Andrew's family events taking priority. When she did visit, she complained about my small house, the lack of good restaurants in my neighborhood, even the coffee I brewed. This wasn't the daughter I raised. I made efforts to maintain our connection. I sent care packages with her favorite homemade cookies. I learned to text more, since she rarely answered calls. I followed her Instagram religiously to glimpse her life. Increasingly, her photos featured the Morgans. Holidays at their Aspen Lodge, sailing on their yacht, attending charity galas in designer gowns they likely purchased for her. Then came the engagement announcement. Lily actually called, bubbling with excitement. Andrew proposed on the rooftop of the Peninsula Hotel. The ring is 3 carats, Mum. I was genuinely happy for her, despite my reservations about her changing personality. My daughter was getting married. I would be there every step of the way. Or so I thought. The initial wedding planning call was a sign of what was to come. "Mrs. Morgan has already secured the Plaza Hotel for the reception," Lily informed me. "The wedding planner she works with is amazing. You don't need to worry about anything." "But I'd like to help," I said. "What about the flowers? I could at least help with the centerpieces." "Everything's handled, Mum. Just show up and enjoy." Her voice was polite but dismissive. I wanted to contribute financially. My counselor's pension wasn't much, but I had my mother's antique jewelry collection, the only valuable thing I owned. I sold it for $15,000 and called Lily. "I want to pay for your dress," I told her. It would mean the world to me. After some hesitation, she accepted. I transferred every penny to her account. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw photos posted by Vivian Morgan. Wonderful day of wedding dress shopping with my future daughter-in-law. My stomach dropped. There was Lily in a bridal salon, surrounded by women I didn't know, plus Vivian, everyone holding champagne flutes. I hadn't been invited. I called Lily immediately. "Oh, that was just a preliminary look," she explained. "Mrs. Morgan knows the boutique owner. We'll go for the real appointment when you visit next month." I tried to believe her. I booked my flight to New York, spending more than I should have, counting the days until I could be part of my only daughter's wedding journey. The real dress appointment was a disaster from the moment I arrived at the boutique. The receptionist looked confused when I said I was the mother of the bride. "We were told Mrs. Morgan is the mother of the bride," she said. I corrected her and was led to a private room where Lily sat with Vivian, 3 bridesmaids I'd never met, and a wedding planner named Tiffany. "Mum, you made it," Lily said without getting up. No hug, no warmth. Vivian barely acknowledged me. The bridesmaids, college friends I'd heard of but never met, whispered among themselves. I took a seat in the corner, feeling invisible as Lily tried on gowns that cost more than my annual pension. During a moment when Lily was changing, I overheard one bridesmaid say to another, "Who wears polyester to bridal by Monique? And that accent, is she from the South or something?" They giggled. "That's her mum," the other whispered. "Lily says she's super basic. That's why she usually leaves her in Portland." My cheeks burned with humiliation. Worse than their cruelty was knowing that Lily had spoken about me this way. When she emerged in a stunning lace gown, I forced a smile and complimented her. Vivian immediately contradicted me. "No, darling, this one doesn't highlight your figure properly. Try the Marchesa again." Lily nodded, deferring completely to Vivian's opinion. My $15,000 contribution wasn't mentioned once. After the appointment, I pulled Lily aside in the boutique's lobby. "Honey, I feel like I'm being excluded from your wedding planning. These are moments I've dreamed of sharing with you." Lily's face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. "Mum, this is exactly why I didn't want you here. You're making this about you. The Morgans move in circles where appearances matter. You're embarrassing me with your discount store clothes and sentimental talk." Her words hit like physical blows. "Lily, I'm your mother. I raised you alone after your father died. I worked 2 jobs to put you through college. And I'm grateful," she said impatiently. "But this is my life now. Either fit in or don't come to the events." That night, dinner at the Morgans' mansion was equally uncomfortable. They discussed wedding details, the 10-piece orchestra, the imported flowers, the celebrity chef, while completely ignoring my presence. When I mentioned the traditional mother-daughter dance, Vivian interrupted. "Actually, we've planned a special father-daughter medley for Richard and Lily. Andrew's dance with me will follow." The planner felt that additional parent dances would disrupt the flow. I looked to Lily for support, but she studied her plate. Later, I discovered that my $15,000 was being used for a champagne fountain, something I found wasteful and unlike the daughter I raised. The final insult came when I learned my hotel had accidentally downgraded my room to a standard one, while all the bridesmaids were in luxury suites paid for by the Morgans. I spent my last night in New York crying alone, wondering where my daughter had gone. Back in Portland, I tried to process what had happened. I sent Lily a small package, a handkerchief that had belonged to her grandmother, embroidered with blue thread. "Something old and something blue," I wrote in the card. "I love you no matter what." The package was delivered, but Lily never acknowledged it. Weeks passed with minimal communication. I learned through Lily's Instagram that there had been a bridal shower I wasn't invited to. Then I discovered from a wedding website that I wasn't included in the rehearsal dinner guest list. Desperate to reach my daughter, I recorded a video message one night. "Lily, I don't understand what's happened between us, but I want you to know that I support your happiness above all else. If I've done something to hurt you, please tell me so I can make it right. I miss you. I love you. You're all I have in this world." I sent the video via email, text, and Facebook Messenger. No response came. The text arrived on a Tuesday morning as I was watering my houseplants. My phone pinged, and seeing Lily's name, my heart leapt with hope. That hope shattered as I read her words. "Don't come to my wedding. You're no longer my family. The Morgans are my family now. They've given me everything you couldn't. Please respect my wishes." My legs gave out. I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, the phone clutched in my trembling hand. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This couldn't be real. Not my Lily. Not the little girl who once made me a Mother's Day card that said, "Mom and me forever." I called her immediately. No answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I sent text after text. Lily, please talk to me. What did I do wrong? Let me fix this, whatever it is. I love you. Nothing. I tried her Instagram, her Facebook, discovered I was blocked on both. I even called her workplace, only to be told Ms. Wilson was not accepting calls. That night was the darkest of my life, darker even than when James died. Because with James, it wasn't his choice to leave me. My daughter was choosing to cut me out of her life, to reject everything we had been to each other. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I lost 8 pounds in 5 days. I wandered through my house like a ghost, touching Lily's childhood photos. Her art projects, I'd saved the height marks on the kitchen doorframe. 22 years of loving her, and for what? To be discarded when something better came along. I considered flying to New York anyway. Showing up at her apartment, begging to understand. A former colleague who had become a friend, Janet, talked me out of it. You'll only push her further away, she said gently, and they might call security on you. Is that how you want to remember the days before her wedding? She was right, but the pain was unbearable. I sat on Lily's old bed, clutching the teddy bear she'd slept with until she was 12 and sobbed until I had no tears left. Then something shifted inside me. A memory surfaced. Richard Morgan at that first dinner talking about investments in the future generation. The cold way he'd assessed me, the calculating look in Vivian's eyes when she'd said Lily had potential. I went to my computer and searched for information about the Morgans. Most results were glowing profiles in business magazines, charity gala photos, the perfect wealthy family narrative. But buried on page 6 of the search results was an article from 7 years ago, a lawsuit filed against Morgan Investment Group by the parents of a young woman named Jessica Taylor. The lawsuit alleged that Richard Morgan had used undue influence to separate Jessica from her family after she began dating the Morgans' older son, David. It was eventually settled out of court details, undisclosed. I dug deeper, found a pattern. David's previous girlfriend before Jessica had also cut ties with her family. Andrew's college girlfriend had done the same, only to be dumped when she was fully invested in the Morgan way, according to a bitter blog post she'd written years later. What was happening became clear. The Morgans weren't just wealthy snobs. They were calculated manipulators who systematically isolated their sons' partners from their support systems. And now, they were doing it to my Lily. I sat back in my chair, a strange calm replacing my despair. My daughter wasn't rejecting me. She was being manipulated by experts. The text message wasn't even in her voice. Lily, for all her faults, would never be so coldly cruel. I picked up my phone and typed a single word in response to her message, understood. Then I dialed a number I hadn't called in years. 24 hours later, I had assembled a team and evidence that would change everything. Patricia Gonzalez, my old college roommate, who had become an investigative journalist for the Seattle Tribune, arrived at my door with a determined look in her eyes. "No one messes with my goddaughter," she said, hugging me fiercely. Patricia had been there when Lily was born, had helped me plan her 10th birthday party, had sent her books throughout college. She hadn't seen much of Lily in recent years, but the bond remained. Patricia brought her research skills and media connections. Janet brought her experience as a social worker dealing with psychological manipulation. My neighbour Tom, a retired detective, offered his expertise in gathering information legally. My small living room became command central for Operation Save Lily, as Patricia jokingly called it. First, we mapped the Morgan family's history. Richard had inherited wealth, but multiplied it through aggressive business tactics. 2 former business partners had sued him for fraud. Vivian came from new money and was rejected by old New York society, making her obsessed with appearances and connections. They had systematically shaped their sons into extensions of themselves. Next, we traced Lily's transformation. Patricia used her media credentials to access public records and social media archives I couldn't see. We created a timeline of Lily's growing isolation, cancelled trips home, changing speech patterns, sudden interest in status symbols she'd previously mocked. Tom discovered through a former Morgan employee that the family had a pattern: identify partners with potential who came from modest backgrounds, shower them with luxury and opportunity, then systematically cut them off from their previous support systems. They targeted people with limited family connections. Lily, with only me, was the perfect mark. Patricia found financial links showing the Morgans had facilitated Lily's rapid promotion at work through connections. They'd tied her success to their influence, creating dependence. The final piece came when Janet's therapy colleague in New York, bound by limited confidentiality, confirmed that several Morgan family associates had sought help for guilt over family exclusion tactics. Most disturbing was the email Patricia's tech contact recovered between Vivian Morgan and the wedding planner. Ensure SW is seated at the back away from photographs. Limited interaction with wedding party. No mother-daughter moments that could overshadow our family's prominence. The prenuptial agreement, which we obtained through an anonymous source at the law firm, was equally revealing. If Lily left Andrew within 5 years, she would receive nothing, not even her own earnings during the marriage. She would also be bound by a non-disclosure agreement, preventing her from discussing the Morgans publicly. They're treating my daughter like a corporate acquisition, I said, staring at the documents spread across my coffee table. Classic isolate and control tactics, Janet confirmed. They've made her believe she needs them more than you. The moral question weighed heavily. Did I have the right to interfere in Lily's life? What if she truly wanted this? Patricia settled it. We're not making decisions for her. We're giving her information so she can make an informed choice. If she still chooses them, after knowing everything, we'll respect that. The wedding was in 2 weeks. We needed to act fast. Through social media monitoring, we learned Lily would be attending a pre-wedding spa retreat with her bridesmaids the following weekend. Tom confirmed the Morgans would be at a charity function that same day. It was our window. I withdrew my entire emergency fund, bought last-minute flights to New York for Patricia and myself, and prepared the evidence in a simple blue folder, Lily's favourite colour. I wasn't going to storm the castle with accusations. I would simply present the truth, then accept whatever she decided. The Orchid Day Spa in Manhattan catered to the ultra-wealthy. Patricia and I couldn't simply walk in. Fortunately, one of Patricia's former interns worked at the front desk and agreed to help us, in the interest of preventing emotional manipulation, as Patricia framed it. We waited in a private relaxation room, my heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. When the door opened and Lily walked in wearing a white robe with bride embroidered on the back, she froze. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Her voice was cold, but her eyes, I saw confusion, not hatred. "Lily, I need 10 minutes of your time. Then if you still want me gone, I'll disappear from your life forever. I promise." I kept my voice steady, despite the trembling inside. She glanced nervously at the door. "Vivian will be checking on me, the bridesmaids." "They think you're having a special bridal meditation," Patricia explained. "We have a few minutes." Recognition flickered in Lily's eyes. "Aunt Patty, I haven't seen you since your college graduation," Patricia finished. "I've missed you, kiddo." Lily's composure faltered slightly. She sat across from us, back rigid. "Say what you came to say." I placed the blue folder on the table between us. "This contains information about the Morgan family. Information you should have before you marry into it. All I ask is that you look through it. More dramatic accusations. The Morgans warned me you might try something like this out of jealousy." Her words were rehearsed, not hers. "Did that text sound like you, Lily? You're no longer my family?" After everything we've been through together. I kept my voice gentle. A flicker of something, shame, crossed her face. She opened the folder reluctantly. I watched as she scanned the documents, her expression changing from dismissal to concern to shock. "This can't be real," she whispered, looking at the prenuptial highlights. "It's all verified," Patricia confirmed. "Multiple sources." Lily's hands trembled as she read the email from Vivian to the wedding planner. "Limited interaction with wedding party. No mother-daughter moments." She looked up at me, really looked at me for the first time. "Mum, I didn't know about this. I swear." "There's more," I said gently. She continued reading. The door burst open. Vivian Morgan stood there in an expensive yoga outfit, her face contorting from practiced smile to rage when she saw us. "What is this security?" she called. "No need," Lily said, standing up. "These are my guests." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "Your mother was specifically not invited to any pre-wedding events. We discussed this, Lily. Did we?" Lily's voice had changed, finding its strength. "Or did you tell me what to do?" And I nodded because saying no to you means losing everything you've dangled in front of me. Vivian stepped closer, lowering her voice to a menacing whisper. "Be very careful, Lily. Your position at Hammond Marketing exists because Richard made a call. Your apartment lease, our name on it. Your entire life in New York is built on our goodwill." I had never hated anyone before that moment, but hearing this woman threaten my daughter, seeing the fear in Lily's eyes, pure maternal rage flooded my system. "That's what this has always been about, hasn't it?" I said, standing beside my daughter. "Control, ownership. You couldn't just welcome Lily into your family. You had to erase her past, erase me." Two bridesmaids appeared in the doorway, curious about the commotion. They heard everything. "Is this true?" one asked Lily. "Have they been controlling you?" Before Lily could answer, Andrew appeared looking confused. "What's going on?" My mother called and said there was a situation. Vivian immediately composed herself. "Andrew, darling, Lily's mother has crashed our private event and is filling her head with nonsense." Lily handed the folder to Andrew. "Read it," she said simply. The room fell silent as he flipped through the pages, his face darkening with each document. "Mum, is this true? Did you write this email about Sadie? Did you force this prenup on us without explaining the terms?" Vivian's facade cracked. "We were protecting you. These people," she gestured dismissively toward me, "they don't understand our world. They would only hold Lily back, and by extension you." Andrew looked at his mother as if seeing her for the first time. "You've done this before, with David's girlfriends. I always thought those families were just difficult, but it was you. Everything we've done has been for this family's future," Vivian insisted. "No," Andrew said firmly. "It was for your control, your image." He turned to Lily, taking her hands. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea." Lily was crying now, years of manipulation becoming clear. The bridesmaids looked uncomfortable, witnessing the unravelling of what they'd thought was a perfect relationship. The final blow came when Richard Morgan appeared, summoned by his wife's urgent text. He surveyed the scene with cold calculation. "Whatever melodrama is occurring needs to end now. Lily, come with us. We'll discuss this privately." "No, Richard," Lily said, and I heard my own strength in her voice. "I've been discussed privately enough. You've manipulated me, isolated me, and nearly destroyed the most important relationship in my life." The room divided. Vivian and Richard on one side, Lily and Andrew on the other. The bridesmaids, uncertain where to stand, backed toward the door. Lily turned to me, her face crumpling. She fell into my arms, something she hadn't done in years. "Mum, I'm so sorry. I need your help," she whispered against my shoulder. I held my daughter, my heart simultaneously breaking and healing. "You've always had it," I whispered back, "and you always will." The wedding was postponed indefinitely. Andrew moved out of the apartment his parents owned and into a much smaller place he could afford on his actual salary. Lily resigned from the marketing firm, where her position had been secured through Morgan influence. They both needed time to figure out who they were outside of the golden cage that had been built around them. I offered them my home while they regrouped. To my surprise, they accepted. Lily and Andrew flew to Portland 3 days after the spa confrontation. Watching my daughter walk through my front door carrying her suitcase like she used to when coming home from college was one of the sweetest moments of my life. The first weeks were awkward. Lily carried shame like a heavy cloak, apologizing constantly for things she'd said and done under the Morgans' influence. "I don't know who I became," she confessed one night as we sat on the porch. "They made me feel like I was special chosen, and that to stay special, I needed to become what they wanted." Manipulators are expert at finding our deepest insecurities, I told her. "Yours was always feeling like you didn't quite belong after your dad died, like you were missing something everyone else had." Andrew was processing his own revelations. "I've been controlled by them my whole life," he admitted. "I just didn't see it because it was all I knew. The way they weaponized love and approval, it's not normal. It's not what family should be." Healing happened in small moments. Lily and I cooking dinner together, Andrew fixing my leaky faucet, the three of us playing board games and laughing until tears came, Lily rediscovering her old bedroom, touching her childhood treasures with newfound appreciation. The Morgans didn't surrender easily. They sent lawyers threatening letters, even attempted to freeze Andrew's bank accounts. But their power diminished once exposed. 2 of Andrew's old friends, sons of other wealthy families, reached out with similar stories about their parents' manipulation. They formed an unexpected support group. 6 months after the confrontation, Lily and Andrew decided they still wanted to get married, but on their own terms. They held a small ceremony in my backyard. Lily wore a simple white dress she found at a local boutique. Andrew wore a suit he bought with his new salary from a job he'd gotten without family connections. The guests included Patricia, Janet, Tom, and the friends who had stood by them. Even 2 of the original bridesmaids came, having broken free from the social orbit of the Morgans. Richard and Vivian were not invited, but Andrew's brother David came bringing his new girlfriend and a heartfelt apology for not standing up to their parents sooner. The wedding was nothing like the extravaganza originally planned. No champagne fountain, no 10-piece orchestra, just fairy lights in the trees, homemade food, and genuine joy. During their vows, Lily looked at me sitting in the front row and added, "And I promise to cherish the true meaning of family, unconditional love, honesty, and acceptance." 3 months after the wedding, the Morgans attempted reconciliation. To my surprise, Lily and Andrew didn't shut the door completely. "They're still his parents," Lily explained to me. "But this time, we set the boundaries." Those boundaries were strict. No financial involvement in their lives. No unsupervised time with future grandchildren. Required family therapy before regular contact. The Morgans initially balked, but eventually agreed, perhaps realizing it was this or nothing. Lily found work at a small marketing firm in Portland where she could rise on her own merit. Andrew discovered a passion for teaching and enrolled in a master's program in education. They bought a modest house 10 minutes from mine, using their own savings without Morgan assistance. Last month, Lily told me she was pregnant. As we sat in her kitchen talking about the future, she took my hand. "Mum, when I sent that text, it wasn't me. Vivian was literally standing over my shoulder dictating the words. I cried all night afterward." "I know, sweetheart," I assured her. "I never believed those words came from your heart. The thing is," she continued, "that experience taught me something powerful. True family doesn't demand perfection or compliance. It offers unconditional love through all our mistakes and growth." That's what you've always given me. That's what I want to give my child. I've learned my own lessons through this ordeal. I learned that standing up for the truth requires courage but brings freedom. That manipulation thrives in isolation but crumbles in the light of day. That sometimes loving someone means fighting for them even when they push you away. Most importantly, I learned that the bonds between parent and child, when built on genuine love, can be tested and stretched but never truly broken. The Morgans nearly succeeded in severing our connection, but in the end, what they couldn't understand is that real family finds its way back to each other against all odds. Have you ever had to fight to protect a relationship that someone was trying to destroy? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that they're worth fighting for. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you today. And remember, in the battle between manipulation and love, love always has the final word.